Okay, so as we've done the last few weeks, let's take a look around at Tennessee's schedule, see what everybody did this week. Starting from the top of Tennessee's schedule here, Syracuse taking down Clemson 34-21. I can't tell whether to be impressed by the win from Syracuse or just the fact that Clemson is not a good football team. I think Fran Brown is a really good coach, and he's proven that this year just because I think the roster that he has is not anywhere near as talented as it was last season. Certainly not a stellar team on the defensive end. Unfortunately, though, for Syracuse, they will be without Steve Angeli for the rest of the year, blowing out his Achilles at some point in that game. So it'll be Ricky Collins quarterbacking the Orange the rest of the way.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I may have mentioned it on the post-game show, but I mean, it's pretty impressive what Syracuse has been able to achieve so far in the season, at least like in the passing game, because last season they led the FBS in passing yards, and then I don't know if it's changed since Angeli's injury, but going into that game, Angeli was the leading passer in all of college football. So it's pretty impressive that Fran Brown's been able to like replicate that for back-to-back years. I mean, I know the season's not done yet, but I mean, so far their passing attack was looking pretty good. And I don't know really what to think about Clemson either, because I was one of those people that bought into them, like thinking that they were going to be a bona fide playoff team and arguably a national championship contender. But I mean, almost losing to Troy, and now they've lost like how many games? Like two or three games
Yeah.
already.
You've already lost 2 conference games. So at this point, you got to run the table in the ACC. There's no other choice. You've got to win your last 6 of them, and then just hope there's enough cannibalism, I guess, within the conference in order to try and win it at this point. The Palmetto Bowl might be a 1st to 17 type affair. It was last season, but it really will be this season.
Yeah, I mean, Clemson's going to have to get something together. I mean, I just don't really see how they get into the playoffs now. I mean, they would surely have to win out the ACC championship, but I mean, I feel like that's pretty far-fetched with how their season's gone so far, and especially the other teams stepping up in the ACC too. Like Miami seems to be a pretty dangerous team this season. So, I mean, I don't know if they could get past them either.
Yeah, and Posty's right. I think Fran Brown at a bigger program could be very dangerous. If Steve Angeli was still on Syracuse or playing for Syracuse, I should say, he's on the team, just injured. I would say that they are a fringe contender to win the ACC. I can't say that now with him injured, unless Ricky Collins is the next undiscovered truth of college football, which could be the case. Right now, I think there are maybe 3 or 4 teams that are really contending for that title. So we'll monitor it as the year goes on because obviously Syracuse is a team that you want to see do well on the schedule now that Tennessee has beaten it. Moving on down the line here, ETSU beat Elon 26-16. Next, Mississippi State beat Northern Illinois 38-10. Took a little bit for Mississippi State to get going in that game. I watched a part of it early on, and I think before I flipped to Auburn and Oklahoma. But they didn't really pull away until late in the third quarter of that game. So, didn't watch a ton of that one, but that's Tennessee's next opponent. So, obviously a result worth keeping in the back of your mind. We mentioned this one in our post-game show on Saturday. Arkansas falls at Memphis 32-31, and they quite literally stumbled and fumbled a game away for the second time in as many weeks this season.
Yeah, I mean, Memphis is looking like a pretty good team this year so far. I mean, if they keep continuing it up, I mean, they could be in the playoffs. So I don't know how bad of a loss it truly is for Arkansas, to be honest. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely a game that I mean is a little bit reassuring for Tennessee fans, I'm sure. I mean, like I said, Memphis is good, but I mean they are a group of 5 school. So, I mean, it is like reassuring to see that Arkansas like fell. But we'll see how it ends up going later in the year. I'm definitely, I'm feeling confident about the Arkansas game even going into the season. But I'm still confident as the season's been going on. I think Tennessee's going to play well against them, and I'm excited for that matchup.
Yeah, I don't think their defense is very good this year. I'll just go ahead and say that. And they've got one more big test this week in Notre Dame before they come to Tennessee. I don't think their defense is very good. The offense is productive, but I went back and watched the second interception that Taylor Green threw because I saw the first one live and it was terrible. The second one was somehow worse. He threw the ball, tried to zip it in tight to a receiver crossing over to the right into the middle of the field. Did not see a defender at all, just sitting right in front of him, threw it straight to the defender. Like he was eyeing his receiver the whole time, trying to like sidearm it in there, and it just did not work. So, again, he's been very productive to start this season, and I think Arkansas overall is very productive on offense. It's what you expect from Bobby Petrino, but if you're into conspiracy theories, I think we're getting to the point now where it's like this is a whole plot from the athletic department to bring back Bobby Petrino as an offensive coordinator to supplant Sam Pittman as the head coach of Arkansas. But the heat is back on again for Sam Pittman. It never turned off at the end of last season, but now that you've lost 2 games like that, it's going to be hot again there in Fayetteville. Absolutely. So, moving on down here, I should mention too, a lot of teams were on bye this week in the SEC. I believe Alabama, Georgia, Kentucky, and Texas A&M were all on bye. 3 of which, of course, were on Tennessee's schedule. So, no games to discuss with those teams this week, which would bring up the next game as Oklahoma and Auburn. Oklahoma, of course, won that game 24-17. Oklahoma's a very well-rounded football team. They can't light you up the same way that a Lincoln Riley team did, say, 5-6 years ago. But they do look very good on the defensive end. Of course, only giving up 17 in that game, only gave up 13 to Michigan. And, of course, you get 10 sacks in that game as well for Oklahoma, which, with that safety, broke a program record. I will say this, though. I think a lot of that had to do with Jackson Arnold being too slow making decisions as opposed to Oklahoma actually getting in there on time because, sometimes he's just going way too slow with his reads and then they sack him. Like he's staring one guy down, doesn't like what he's seeing, doesn't move quick enough to the next guy, and then he gets himself in trouble. That or he just decides to take off too late. One of those two is the problem. So Auburn may still be better this year. I'm not entirely sure, but Oklahoma is going to be a tough out for everybody in the SEC. That's for sure.
Yeah, Oklahoma's defense looked pretty good. I actually got to catch some of that game, and that last drive where they ended up breaking the team sack record. I mean, I think they got I think it was a sack, a tackle for a loss, and then a sack safety right there towards the end. Yeah. I mean, their defense was playing pretty good out there, which is a little concerning, to be honest. I mean, especially with how Mateer's been playing so far this season. I'm pretty sure. Let me check real quick. Yeah, he's still leading the SEC in passing so far. He's got 1,200 yards. He's got 6 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. And I mean, he can move a little bit too, which I mean, we've talked about before. Tennessee, or I brought it up, how Tennessee struggled stopping the quarterback run in years past. So, I mean, Oklahoma is definitely a team that Tennessee is going to need to keep an eye on. And I'm a little bit more concerned with them now than I was going into the season.
Yeah, I think you should be, rightfully. I think Mateer is potentially a top 1 quarterback in the SEC right now. Certainly a top 2 or 3. I think he's that good for this team. And a guy that's been a real underdog, too. I mean, Joey Aguilar fits that mold as well, but I think Mateer is a little bit more of a complete player to this point than what we've seen out of Joey so far. So, good win for Oklahoma. That was one of the 2 SEC games this week. Mizzou and South Carolina also played each other. Tennessee does not play either one of those teams. And, of course, Mizzou ended up winning that game 29-20. Not super surprised that they won just based on everything we've seen the prior 3 weeks. But the rushing yard disparity in that game, I think it ended up being 287 to -9.
Dang.
In favor of Mizzou, which is kind of wild. Because Sellers ended up throwing for 300 because they had to throw their way back into that game. They're just getting bullied. by Mizzou up front, absolutely bullied. So not good at all for South Carolina. And the temperature's rising once again in Columbia, South Carolina, that is. But obviously Tennessee does not play either one of those teams, so we won't dwell on it too much. There was one other big game, however, that happened this weekend that featured a team on Tennessee's schedule, and that is, of course, the game that College Game Day was at down there in South Beach. Miami taking down Florida 26-7. Okay. Florida's defense might be the best in the SEC. I'm not lying when I say that. They have been terrific this season. You only give up 18 points to USF in week 2, shut out Long Island. Really only gave up 13 to LSU because there was a pick 6 in that game, one of the 5 interceptions DJ Lagway threw. And really until the final 4 minutes of this game, you held your own against Miami. They're only down 13-7. And one of the touchdowns Miami scored late was because you had a turnover on downs deep in your own territory. So Florida actually very good on defense this year. Offensively, it's been dreadful. It's been absolutely dreadful. 141 total yards of offense this week for Florida against Miami. That's miserable. No third down conversions. They were 0 for 13 on third down. So, and DJ Lagway is hurt right now. I think he was spotted in a walking boot by somebody down there in Gainesville today. They're optimistic he'll play against Texas, but this is turning into a game where it's just like, and we'll talk about it later, but Tennessee is not for sure going to play Florida next season. So, if not now, when is Tennessee going to win a game down there?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like this season, it puts the pressure on Tennessee even more to win, considering that they're not going to be playing each and every year. And with Lagway's situation, I'm pretty sure that he had a boot on before the season even started, like a week or two before regular season began. And then I just think it's funny because a lot of people, expected Florida's offense to be spectacular and that Lagway was going to be a Heisman contender. And then on the flip side, everyone thought that Tennessee's defense was going to be carrying them. And it looks like both of those things end up flipping right there. I mean, Tennessee's offense has been looking good, and now Florida's defense is looking pretty good. But, I mean, Florida has been struggling quite a bit to start the year, which I'm a little surprised. I mean, last year they were able to run the table pretty good for as tough of a schedule as they had. I think they won like 8 games last year
Yeah, they got to 8-5 if you include the bowl game, which is not bad for what they were dealt.
Yeah, no, because if you looked at their schedule going into last season, I mean, it looked like they would be lucky to win 2 games. And of course, most of their opponents are back for this season as well. But it's going to be a rough road from Florida from here on out. I mean, especially if Lagway continues to struggle, if he continues to be injured, and like I just don't know what Florida's going to be able to do offensively. I mean, it looks like that seat keeps getting hotter and hotter for Billy Napier. But I mean, of course, everyone that's a Tennessee fan really wants him to stay as long as possible.
Yeah, that's exactly what you want if you're a Tennessee fan. You want him to stay there as long as possible. So. But man, they are in trouble. He is by record the worst of the 4 coaches they've had since Urban Meyer. I mean, he's the closest thing to, I mean, I guess who would that be in Tennessee terms? Jeremy Pruitt to what they have down there in Gainesville. So it's not good. I think the pressure was still on him a little bit in the offseason, but it's turned right back up. That's for sure. One more game on Tennessee's schedule, or opponent on Tennessee's schedule that played a game this weekend was Vanderbilt. They defeated Georgia State 70-21. I think they took that one kind of personally after having lost last season down there in Atlanta. That snapped a 107-year-old scoring record. They had not scored 70 in a game since 1918, which is kind of nuts. They will absolutely be 5-0 by the time they go down to Tuscaloosa. They got Utah State at home, and then they're off. So it's is that right? Yeah, that would be right because they have this game and then the bye, and then they're at Alabama right before Tennessee goes down there. So that's something to monitor. Absolutely, with Vanderbilt going down the stretch, how they can do on the road in the SEC, how they do at home in the SEC too, is something I'm also intrigued by.
Yeah, I mean,
So, oh, go ahead.
oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, Vanderbilt's been off to a pretty hot start, man. I mean, whenever Vanderbilt starts off the season like undefeated, I mean, they're 4-0 right now. I mean, you don't see that much. I mean, I remember a time where Vanderbilt won like 2 games about every single season.
Yeah.
And they've really turned things around under Clark Lee. And yeah, I mean, it's gonna be interesting when they come to Knoxville.
Bonus round for you this week. Kennesaw State, Jerry Mack, the Owls defeated Arkansas State and Butch Jones 28-21 on Saturday as well. So, hate to see it for Butch. Really hate to see it for Butch.